Okay. Hello and welcome everyone to the product webinar hosted by Bettyblocks, June 2022. Today's host, we got Reinier van Altena, one of the product owners within Bettyblocks, and Sebastian Sneckers, another product owner within Bettyblocks. And they're going to tell you some really cool updates and things that they've been working on and are going to work on for the last couple and the upcoming months. So let's go over the goal of this webinar. We would like to give you, as a self-builder, customer, partner, whatever you are to us, a nice insight in what we've been working on and what we are going to work on with the product. So before Reinier and Sebastian are going to start off with some of the really cool new fancy things, I would like to remind you that if you have any questions, please use the Q&A session within with the section within Zoom. We're going to try and answer 2 questions live per section. And at the end, if you have any spare questions left, we can see if Reinier or Sebastian can answer them via the chat, or if there is a question that will need some more explanation, we will try and see if we can contact you via email. And also a reminder, the webinar will be recorded. So if you would like to view it back later, we're going to try and have it online by the end of this week. So for today's topics, first, Reinier is going to start off with part 1. What have we worked on? Authenticated pages and default authentication profiles, some dead-end fixes, a partial selector, page template updates, and public templates to work on all zones. That's super cool and very interesting. So let's go to Reinier, and please, Reinier, take it away.
Thank you, Odin. All right, so I'm going to talk about some more ease of use within the platform, in particularly some of the dead-end streets that we currently have in the platform and our new partial selector. So let's get into it. So first of all, we have the authenticated pages and default authentication profiles. Before, when you were creating a new page, you could just give it a name and that was it. Now you also have the possibility to immediately set the page either to a public or it to be an authenticated page, which means that you need to be able to log in to access the page. So that is something that you can do now. There is another feature that I'm going to show you, which is a feature that is not yet live. It's going to be live in the next few days, so that's why I'm already showing it to you. And that is that it will also automatically select your a default authentication profile. So you don't have to manually set it. Of course, you can change it at that point. So let's jump into that. So let's say that you want to create a new page. Of course, you can just choose either starting with a new page or any of our page templates. So for this, I'll just take a page template. And as you can see here, you can just give it a name now. So let's slide out. And now down here we have public or authenticated. So by default, this one is set to public, but you also have the authenticated. As you can see right now, I don't have a default set profile yet, but I can select one here, but I don't have a profile at the moment. So let me just quickly go back to my slides. So we also have fixed a dead end here. So that is the authentication profile dead end that we fixed, which allows you to create a new authentication profile directly from this part, where you don't have to go back to tools and then create it manually. So I can just click on select a profile now, say create profile. I can enter the name of my my authentication profile here. So a web user, for example, select the model that I want to use for this. So I want to use this one, for example, use the email address. Well, right now I don't have a password property, of course, so I'm running into another dead end street, which is one that we're also going to fix very soon. That should even allow you to add a whole web user model automatically as well. But I don't have that at the moment. That will also be released in the next couple of days. Sorry, couple of weeks. But as you can see, at least you can do this much faster now than before. All right, so let's move on to the next topic. So another one that we've fixed, another dead end, is model and properties. This is currently also still on our acceptance environment, but will be released in a couple of days to 1 or 2 weeks as well. So this will allow you to immediately add a new model with all of its properties to my to your page. So let me show you that. So let's set this for the public and say create page here. So now here I can select a model. Of course, I can select a model here from ones that already exist, but I can click here on a new model. And like I said, it's still on our testing environment. So there is a small bug in here right now, which still shows the model here. So just bear with me for now. But we can just add anything, a new model name here now that we want to call this one. Oh, let me just add another employees here. And then I can say here, for example, I want to have a first name. And then with enter, I can add it, last name. And let's take a list here with gender, for example. So you can just add these, save it. And as you can see, it immediately becomes available. I can select it here. And I can use it. So as you can see here as well, if, for example, you're using a model that you've already created, but you're missing a property here, you can also add a new property here now. So you can add multiple ones. So I can just add a date here, date of birth, for example, and add that property as well. And it will become available here. And I can select all of these immediately to create my page. So that should make this a lot less painful, that you have to go all the way back. You might have set up a couple of other things and you have to go back to the data model, for example. But in this case, you don't have to do that anymore. You can just do it from the configuration over here. And of course, wherever you have such a option to select models or select properties, you will have the option to add new properties or add a new model. So it's not only here when you're creating new pages, it will be on multiple places throughout the whole platform. All right, so let's move on to the next topic, which is the partial selector. So we've introduced a partial selector a few weeks ago, which allows you to select a partial in your page templates. So before this, every time you would use a page template with, for example, the header and footer, you would always get the default header and footer that was included, which basically still saves you some time because you didn't have to set up the whole header and footer part anymore. You just had to drag in your own header and your own footer maybe, and delete the current one, which was still costing you a little bit of time. So we fixed that now, that now you can select it on the page template directly without you having to do that over and over again on your page. So and in the process saving you some time. So we have the header and a footer here. And as you can see here, we have partials. So I don't have any partials here in this app right now. But this will allow you to quickly select a partial and use that. And if you don't have any, like I have right now, you can still say add without configuration. And that will allow you to just use the standard one. And when you have the standard one here, and you make some changes to this one, for example, and you're going to save this one as a partial. So I'm going to call this, for example, my header now. And this will allow you now, if you're going to create your next page, and you're going to use the header and footer again. Now you can select the header here, for example, and use that one to include it. And now if you create your page, you will have your header included here instead of a standard component, which should speed up your process of creating a new page. And of course, all the pages that use headers or footers have this included already. And of course, you can also add it to your own custom pages as well. We're going to add something more to this, to the header and footer selector, which Sebastian will show you in a little while as well. All right. And let's move on to the next. So another thing that we did is some updates to our page templates. We have a new one. We have a CRUD with dialogues. We got a lot of responses that a lot of people were using dialogues instead of the sliding pane that we had in one of our in our other CRUD template. So we created one with dialogues as well. So we have one nice out of the box with dialogues. And we did a redesign of our back office, our homepage, and our simple dashboard. So those have a little bit of new styling added to it. So first of all, let's have a look at the new CRUD with dialogues. I actually think I already added it here to speed up things a little bit. So this is the new CRUD with dialogues. So this one has instead of this sliding pane on the right, it has dialogues here that it will use for all the buttons that you see here on the right side or the new. So you can use these dialogues to interact with your data. So it's basically so it's essentially almost the same, just a little bit different setup, and hopefully a lot of people will be happy to use this as well. And then we have the updated one. So we have the back office. Let me grab a preview here. So as you can see, it has a little bit of new styling here. It looks exactly like the one I just showed you before. The same goes for the other ones as well. So we have the simple dashboard, which we gave an update as well. It looks a lot cleaner than the previous one. So I hope this will help you out by creating easier pages as well with the page builder. All right, and then the last one that I have for you today is public templates will work on all zones. That is something I just tried to get confirmation about that. It should be released any moment, though I wasn't sure if they just released it or they're going to do it tomorrow. But right now, it was only possible to use our templates, or at least our app templates, only on NL3, so one of our European zones. But it wasn't possible to use it on our other European zone, but also not on our US zone, and also not on our Canadian zone. So with this, that should be fixed. So we created something that will make sure that all of our app templates will work on all zones, so everybody can benefit from it. And you won't have to create it anymore specifically on NL3 and then ask us to copy it for you. So I'm hoping that this will allow you to create more apps more easily. And
okay, we do have one. I see two questions for you, Reinier, so we might have to skip back a little bit before Sebastian is going to take over. One question. When you quick add a new list property, can you also set values to that list in the future in the quick add section?
That is a very good question. I will have to ask the team that's working on that, because that's not my team that's working on that feature. So we'll get back to you on that when we have the answer.
Okay. And another question. I tried to set up some app based on templates. However, I was unable to get it working. I cannot get the default authentication working and couldn't find out any documentation. How do I get started with the templates? So let's get back into this. Maybe Rainier, you should type this out, because what I'm reading right now is where can you get started with the templates? Well, can you show us where we can find the app templates initially?
Yeah, of course I can.
And Jasper, I think it's also nice because this seems maybe, let's see, this might seem to be a maybe a zone issue as well. As Rainier just said, this is also going to be available by last week or tomorrow, depending on the zone maybe. So I'd like to get back to you regarding that as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm probably going to show. I have a small, because I'm a global admin here, so I can't see all the specific templates right now. So anyway, we also have documentation these days on some of our templates. I don't know if those are already public. You know that better than I do, Odin.
Mm-hmm. Okay. No, then we'll have to get back to that.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, but at least we're working on documentation for that, which hopefully will be yeah, ready in the near future. So that should
there
be...
is if you go to docs.bettyblocks.com, there is some documentation regarding certain templates ready by well, let's say, what is it, as of last week. We already have some documents set up. We're also working on more documents, such as the questionnaire template, the ideation template, as you can see, on how to get certain templates or authentication features working together with docs. We're also working on that. So Jasper, I'll be glad to get back to you via email.
All right.
And then, well, for the next part, I'd like to soon give the word to Sebas. Sebas is going to talk about what we're going to focus on regarding creating your own page templates, the application list view, the partial selector, and some auto identify option, and a new pages overview where you can see authenticated versus public pages. So please, Sebas, take it away.
Yes. Sorry, was muted and had my video off. Obviously, one of the things that's still a hustle. But thanks, Odin. Hello, everybody. My name is Sebastian, and I'm the product owner of the UX department within Bettyblocks. I'm really thrilled to show you guys a couple of things that we've been working on. Briefly put, we're going to show you a bit of feature how you can create your own page templates, your application list view. That's something new that we're introducing in the overview. An auto identify feature for the partials, something that Rainier already showed, but we're already working on some improvements. And we have some small adjustments to the pages overview in regards to the authenticated versus public pages. So with that said, you can pretty much just skip the slide and dive in right away. First thing that I would like to share with you all is a new feature in which you will be enabled to create your very own page templates. So with this feature, it will enable you as the builder to keep your pages consistent along the way. So let me show you how this works with a prototype. I have a prototype right over here. And one of the things that you might notice straight away is that we have a bar on the top. Now, this is also something that we want to do due to consistency. We have it in the actions environment as well. But next to that, we noticed that a lot of people had a bit of trouble with how the settings were part of the sidebar. As you're probably familiar with, there's a save button there, and often people think it's to save your page. Well, that's not the case. So we've also changed that in the position way. So on the top right, you'll see a button with 3 dots, so to say. And if I click it, I will see a tiny little pop over. I'll quickly show the page settings and how it's set right now. So instead of a dialog, it will open in a panel. And as you can see, we also changed a tiny little bit of wording in regards to saving. We pretty much just say, make sure that it sets save settings, so you're pretty sure of what you're actually going to do. Now let's focus on the actual feature that I'm going to demo, which is to save your own template. So I have this page over here and I created it, and I think it's looking rather nice, but I want to make a couple of variants, but I do want to keep it consistent. So I could obviously duplicate it, but that would be quite a hassle. Instead, I want to have a template. Click on the Save as Template, and I get this little dialog over here, which requires me to fill in a couple of fields. I'll simply upload a thumbnail. I also want to mention one part that isn't in this prototype, but we already received that as feedback, is that you will be able to share the template across your whole organization. So it won't be specific to this app. With that being said, I'll save my template. And there we go. We see a little notification that it's been saved. I can go to the page. I'm going to create a new one, and instantly, or at least quite quickly, you'll see we have two tabs over here. We have the public templates, but we also have a new one called My Templates. Now, if I click that one, there it is. There's my very own template. I can reuse this and simply select it, fill in my page name, and create a page. There we go. I have my very own page based on the template. So that's it for now. I noticed a question about partials. We didn't have that in scope right now. It's definitely something that we can take a look at. So thanks for that. But I'm gonna carry over to the next thing, which is the view modes that we want to introduce for the application overview. So the application overview that we have right now, you're probably somewhat familiar with it. It's a lot of gray cards, and we got some feedback that they currently lack a form of distinction. Furthermore, it was pretty much just cluttered, especially if you have a lot of apps. So what we've done is we made a couple of changes to the cards. They're a bit more compact, leaving room for more cards in your initial view. And we have added a bit of iconography with a touch of color. Let me just show you the prototype instead. So over here, I have the prototype. And as I said, the cards are a little bit more comprehensive. They're a bit smaller, a bit more compact, and they gained a little touch of color with an icon to be more recognizable. But we also have a toggle over here to switch it to a list view. Now, if I click that one, we see quite a familiar table if you would take a look at the page overview, for instance. Now, the same sort of patterns apply over here as well. If I would hover over one of the table rows, it will show me a couple of options. I can start building, I can open the app in runtime, I can quickly go to the user management, or I can go to settings. For instance, I have the task management over here, and I can go to the settings right away. It will improve your speed of development in regard to the actual app selection, so to say. All right. The next one is somewhat in line with what Randy already showed you guys. It's for the partials. So there's a new feature, obviously, that you can select your partial, but we instantly noticed one of the frustrations that pretty much just already came up as well when Randy was demoing it. Because if you don't have a partial yet, then you would be somewhat stuck, or you would have to use the page template without a partial. So we're trying to fix that. For instance, if I have my header and footer template over here, I can use this one. I can fill in my name, go next. And what it does, it's looking for compatible partials. Now, if no compatible partials are found, it will auto-generate them for you. So you don't have to create your page without a partial, but it will have them there inside of there for you. And they will be reusable. So it would be a one-time thing. However, it could obviously be the case that you do have a partial, but it's not identified. You can always change it. You can simply open the selector, and here you go. For instance, I have a partial named Bovenkant. It's a bit of an odd name in Dutch, but here we go. I can select it, and I can do the same for the footer. I also want to note that you can see over here that there's a little tooltip saying it will be generated for you, containing the right compatible components. So I want to point out that it won't be just an empty component. It won't be just a box. It will actually be a header and a footer. It was truly to speed up your development. Let me just select this one, and I can create my page. And there we go. The page has been created, and I have my partial in there, and for the footer as well. Obviously, I can change these later on, but it's just to make sure that you have the right partials in there. All right, so I'm going to do it pretty quickly, I think, but that's a nice thing of prototypes in Figma. They always work. Now, the last thing I want to show you, but definitely not the least thing, is the page overview. Because as Rainier just mentioned, we're working hard on the authentication part, and it's coming with a couple of new, well, issues, so to say. It's a bit hard to say that, but it's kind of tough. And we already received some feedback to know what authentication profile is linked to your page. And you can't see that in the overview. Instead, it would mean that you would have to go to every page independently, go to the settings and check out which authentication profile is used, if one is used. So instead, we have taken that into account and put it in the overview as well. I'll quickly show the prototype as well. Over here, I have a prototype. And once again, you'll see some tabs on top. It shows me the all option, which would show me every single type of page there is, which is for now, obviously the authenticated and the public pages. I can switch to the public, which would then show me only the public ones. And I can switch to the authenticated one, which would show me every page that's authenticated. Now, one thing to point out that's pretty good to know is that you can also see which authentication profile would be used. So over here I have the homepage, and the authentication profile that's used is the web user. For articles, it's the admin. And what you can also see is that we've introduced a couple of icons, a page icon with a lock, which would resemble the authentication part, and one with a globe, which would resemble the public part. And the benefit of this is that if you would go to your quick add navigation, then you would also see the icons over here. So you wouldn't have to necessarily go to your pages just to see which type of page is used. So with that being said, I think that's all for me from the UX department, at least. So I'd like to thank you for taking the time to walk through with me for these prototypes. And
we do have two questions for you, Sebastian.
Yes.
So if you could scroll back to, I think it's to the first segment that you were talking about. We've got a really interesting question, and that is, what is actually the difference between making a template of your page and duplicating it? Is there a clear difference for a user?
Yeah. So if you would duplicate your page, it will always be in your page overview, right? So if I can't really go there right now, but if I would, let me check. I'll just open the real environment if that's okay. So one of the reasons that we, hold on, I have to go to now, let me do it a different way. I'll stick to the prototype. If you would go to your overview of all of your pages, which I can use this one for, that's better. Just close that. If I would have to duplicate a page, then it would always be part of my overview in here. Now, that would be only app specific, so I wouldn't be able to share with the organization. But furthermore, it would clutter my view. So I could accidentally delete it, and then I wouldn't have my template anymore. Next to that, it's not really a starting point. So if you're a different user and you didn't create it, then you wouldn't see it within your overview, so to say. So if you go to the prototype that I created, this would be available for all of your developers or builders, at least, within the app and the organization. I hope that answers the question.
I definitely think that does, at least to me it does. So basically you won't fill up your pages overview. You won't have any live pages just hovering around. You just have something that you can select while building new pages. That sounds pretty cool and neat. And then one last question to you, Sebas. When you create a template of the page, does it also save the data in the components? So for instance, the properties in a data table on the page you make a template of?
That's a really good question, and I'll have to come back to that in a bit. I think Rainier might actually know this, but I'm really unsure at this moment. Sorry for that.
Rainier, do you have any, could you clarify maybe, do you know if the page templates, whenever you would save such a page template, is it a plan to also take the data in the components such as the properties along to when you create a new page with that template?
As a starting point, no, but it is the eventual aim that it will hopefully be possible. But when we will release it, the initial release won't have that capability. So The initial release is more aimed at making sure that you have your styling and everything included, but not with the data and the actions included at first. But of course, that's something that we want to look in later as well to make that possible, but not initially.
Okay, now I can thank you for your answers, both of you. I can imagine, of course, because when you have a template available throughout your organization, it's going to be difficult to get it up and ready with the properties in another application if you don't have the data model up there. So that is that for today. Thank you all for being here. That's it for now. So we've gotten some templates and some really nice app overview. That's it for now. I would like to invite you for the next webinar. We will send out an email whenever you can expect this webinar. And I would like to wish you all a very nice ending of your Wednesday or from whatever day and time zone you are watching. Thank you very much.